Dressed in your Sunday best, you walk into the office of Lancaster and Roth Telecommunications Services of Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. This is the big time. This is where your dreams can come true. You walk into the waiting room and sit down. In one hand you have a folder, and in that folder is your curriculum vitae, a list of references from university, and also a few headshots. You're a handsome guy, and you plan to let people know that. In your other hand is a metallic, bulletproof briefcase, and in that briefcase is your time machine. Shortly after arriving in the waiting room, you receive a telephone call. The person on the other end says, "It's you from the future. Tie your shoe." They hang up abruptly. You are not alarmed because you are well versed in time travel, and this is a regular occurrence. A secretary walks out into the waiting room and calls your name. You raise your hand, step up from your chair, and trip over your other shoelace. People are laughing at you. People are pointing at you. It's embarrassing. You immediately open up the briefcase containing the time machine and go back 5 minutes. You meet yourself at the front door of Lancaster and Roth Telecommunications Services of Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. You tell the you with shoelaces untied, "Hey, I got it this time."
You walk up the stairs to the lobby that you were just in 5 minutes in the future and sit down again for the first time. 5 minutes later, the secretary calls your name. You raise your hand and step up from the chair flawlessly without tripping at all. You seem to have mastered lesson 1 of the job interview manual. Tie up all loose ends before the interview, or you never know what you might get tripped up on. You enter the office and look the interviewer in the eye. "How do you do?" you say. "I do very well. Thank you for asking," he says. "Please take a seat." You do. He sits as well. "My first question is, why would you like to be a sales manager here at Lancaster and Roth Telecommunications Services of Upper Darby, Pennsylvania?" "Well," you begin, "my first words were cold call. I think that tells you everything you need to know about me, you piece of human garbage. Oops, you've broken rule number 2 of job interviewing. Never insult the interviewer." You open up your bulletproof briefcase and travel back once again. You see the two other versions of yourself in front of the Lancaster and Roth building and say, "I'll take it from here, boys." You go back into the interview just as before, and when he asks you the question again, you say, "My first words were cold call. I think that tells you everything you need to know about me, you lovely, lovely man."
The interviewer seems impressed. He nods approvingly at you and flips the page in front of him. "All right, next question. What can you tell me about the history of Lancaster and Roth telecommunication services of Upper Darby, Pennsylvania?" You panic. You don't remember a single thing of your studies. Lesson 3. Always know the background of the organization or company you hope to work for. Just like before, you open up your briefcase, and instead of going back just a few minutes, you go back to 1939, when Lancaster and Roth just started out. As you stand in front of the building, you realize you're back in time, and it's pretty cool. You walk into the building and into the lobby. You ask the secretary where the HR manager is. She seems a little confused. "Give me a few minutes, honey, and I'll get back to you. You're an important man, and you don't wait around for anybody." You walk outside and cross the street into Upper Darby's finest malt shop. You sit down on the counter and order a Coca-Cola. There's a real sweet peach of a girl sitting next to you who's batting her eyelashes right your way. "Hey, darling," you say to her. "Want to go out back and share a Coca-Cola with me?" She looks at your glass. There's only one straw. She says, "Well, why don't we go back to my place? I have another straw for you." You make love to her. And as you're lying in bed, smoking a post-coital cigarette, you realize, oh no, I need to get back to this interview. But don't forget, you need to learn the history of Lancaster and Roth. So you run into the building, past the secretary you spoke to before, and barge into the office of Bertram Lancaster and Gareth Roth. You don't waste time. You shake both of their hands, give them a quick nod and a smile, and bust out your time machine. You gotta go back.
At the entrance to Lancaster and Roth Telecommunication Services of Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, you see your 3 younger selves. Take a $5, boys. I've got a job to win. You head back and ace the first part of the interview. you get back to that difficult question. What can you tell me about the history of Lancaster and Roth? Well, you say, Bertram Lancaster had a firm, strong handshake, while Gareth Roth's handshake was not quite as firm, but it had a way of speaking to you in saying, I understand you. You are loved. The interviewer looks very impressed, and the rest of the interview proceeds swimmingly. You get the job. You head home with your 3 other selves to celebrate. Your whole family is there. Your mother, your father, your grandmother. She congratulates you. I know how much you wanted this, she says. I can see you're going places. You remind me of somebody I once knew who was very special to me, though I only knew him for a short time. Who are you talking about? You ask her. I don't think you ever told me about this person. Well, she says, he is your grandfather. I met him at a malt shop. He had something special about him, like he was ahead of his time. I could just tell that that man was going places. But I never saw him again. I was broken-hearted. But I feel good to know that he lives on in my children, in my children's children. Your grandmother is right. That man is special.
Wow, Stu. I feel very prepared. Hey, Stu?
Yeah, Merle?
What's your dream job?
Well, Merle, I think my dream job would be to host a podcast, all on my own, without a co-host. Do you know what I mean?
I do, Stu. I share that dream as well. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Blainer Brothers Relaxation Quarter Hour. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and follow us on Twitter @Blainer Brothers. Until next time.